Welcome, guys. Welcome to the show. I am Amara Negra, and you're listening to Exactly Amara, a production of iHeart. By the way, guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget to give us those 5 stars. Subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. Go ahead to the YouTube channel where you can basically watch or listen to any of the past podcasts by searching for My Cultura podcast and clicking on Exactly Amara. Today, we're going to be talking about something that's very important, something that hits home, because I also come from a single mother, a hardworking mother. And now as a single mother myself, I understand more than ever the importance of the terminology child support. So today we're going to be talking about child support. I know it's a very sensitive topic. And obviously, for those that have been watching Love and Hip Hop Miami, I know that has been a topic of conversation because of Safari. You guys know that Safari and I have been dating and trying to figure things out. And that has been a big topic of conversation. Should you date someone that doesn't pay child support? What about if he pays child support? Should that be something that should be any of your concern? All those child support questions, I think, is important when you are in a relationship, when you're finishing a relationship, how you should go about it. Should you go about it? When is it important for you to put your foot down and actually take it the legal route? Is it worth it taking it the legal route? Is it more beneficial financially, or can it actually be more damaging? As a man, how are you supposed to handle that situation from being, a parent who pays child support? I know I've shared here all about my personal life and how over the last year I've been raising my kids, my children on my own. And of course, I'm not the only one out here that's been going through the same thing. I know there's a lot of single parents, male and female, who have taken all the responsibility, some by choice, some haven't had a choice but to do it. But there's a lot of single parents who can relate. And that's why, to me, it was so important to do this episode. I mean, I saw what my own mom had to go through raising me as a single, hardworking mother. So I feel very close to this topic, not just because of her, but obviously because now, unfortunately, the patterns have repeated and I am now in her same shoes. And I know that there's a lot of people that know exactly where I'm coming from. So when things are hot and heavy in a romantic relationship, you're not thinking about what would happen if kids are involved and what would happen if things end. You're in the moment of love and seeing things on the good side, the positive side. You think that things are going to last forever. And no one ever really bothers to think, what if things don't work out? Will this person really still hold me down? Will this person still have enough love for me, at least in the back of their heart, of their mind, to think about how this separation can not only be damaging to me emotionally and to a certain extent for a lot of relationships financially as well when you become codependent of your partner. But in this case, when you have children involved, in many occasions, the man, for the most part, and women as well, because I know that a lot of women use their children to manipulate men. I don't want to put all the weight on men because I know that there's a lot of women that purposely use their children to manipulate, to take, put that financial all responsibility on the man to the point that now this man is paying more than half of his check, not only for the child, but now to also feed that woman's lifestyle. As of 2022, the average cost of raising a child is around $16,000 per year. And that's like the average, because I know it's way more for me. I mean, my babies drink a gallon of milk, a little bit more than a gallon of milk, plus diapers and wipes and health insurance and clothing and toys and this and that. And, any incidents that can occur, you also have to be prepared for that financially too. So if you count what it would cost until they're about 18 years old, you're looking at about almost $300,000. And that's a lot of money that realistically, the way that we're living today, not everybody can financially afford that. And I think that as women, as men, when you're single, you're not really ever thinking about the responsibility financially of raising a child. But it also comes from the fact that nobody really talks about it. There's a lot of pressure on having children. Everybody talks about having children, to the point that now we have a big community of people that don't want to have children because of the fear of the financial responsibility. And let's not only just talk about the financial responsibility, but overall, the emotional responsibility of having a child. It's a lot. In this case, like me, I wasn't prepared to not only have one, but two. There's a lot of people out here that are having triplets, and they're surely not prepared for that. And I know that there's a lot of government assistance, and that's a great thing too. But regardless of that, it's a lot of weight because no matter how much anybody else can come in and help you out, you still feel like it's your responsibility. You brought them into this world. It is your responsibility to make sure that everything, their education, their food, everything is on point. Most people don't think of how much a child really costs. And to me, it's like, why isn't anybody, people only know how to say it's expensive, but why isn't anybody being specific and letting you know ahead of time? Like, listen, okay, if you guys want to, have children, or if you're planning on it, because a lot of people decide to plan it. I want to do it after I'm 35. I want to do it after my 30s. I want to do it after 28, 25, whatever the case may be. For those that plan it, congrats to you. There's many people that don't plan it. So therefore, you have to be prepared to understand that this comes with housing, education, food, medical bills, clothes, childcare, especially if you're a single parent, or maybe may not have the support of the grandparents to, help out here and there. Daycares are very expensive. Let's not even go to nannies. If you have a nanny at home, I'm hearing like anywhere between $1,500 a week in my case for the twins. So if you have like two kids, it doesn't matter regardless of the age. You're kind of looking at those numbers, right? It's a lot. All those things are things that you have to think about when you select your partner. Hopefully, if you've chosen, the right person, you won't have to struggle to, through these things. But if not, you're going to go through it. And trust me, you're going to get it, because no matter how much money you have, you're still going to go through it, especially emotionally. The fact that you may not have that person who helped you create this child or these children not be there to support you emotionally, it's a lot. You lose money in the beginning because you take time off from work to have the baby. Obviously, I'm talking about the women. And for the men, you guys still get to put in that work, obviously knowing that, when you go home, if you're still going home to that woman, you still have to cater to her. But yes, women, for the most part, have to take some time off to heal. I personally didn't take any time off. I was working literally like in the hospital. When I got out of the hospital the week after, I was literally taking flights. I don't recommend it to anyone, but the pressure of the responsibility of having to have a child, and you have to provide for them. And let's pray that your child doesn't come out with any health conditions, because if they do, you have to also be prepared for that financial responsibility as well. So it's a lot. I personally, like I said, I was working the whole time through. I know a lot of hardworking women that till the day that they give birth, they're working. They don't have the privilege of like, oh, I'm just going to take this time off. You don't get to do that. You have to put in the work. This is crazy. I don't know if you guys do, but in 2018, according to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, non-custodial parents across the country own more than, listen to this, $114.6 billion in child support. You got to be kidding me. God, I don't even know where to go from there, because I know so many, especially in the African-American community and minority communities, there's so many men that end up going to jail because they can't afford to pay child support. I know that everybody has to be responsible. Everybody has to put in their part, but in many occasions, it is tough out here financially. You could barely do that. And on top of that, now you have the responsibility of a judge telling you exactly how much you have to pay. Not to mention that in many occasions, and I think it's unfair, I almost feel, and God, oh my God, I don't even know how to say this because the woman is going to come for me, but if there were to be like a card where you can see exactly what the money is being used for, but then at the same time, as a mom, I'm like, if I were to get child support, who cares, how I use the money, as long as a child is being taken care of? Because if I use the money to pay the house, well, that's where your child lives in. If I use the money to pay electricity, well, that's where the child lives in. If it's for clothes, if it's for food, if it's for whatever it is, even if it were to be for a small vacation, I don't see it bad, because why should it be just the mother's responsibility to pay for those things and the father to just pay for the essentials? I don't know. When it comes to child support, it's a very iffy line. The same way I think is real iffy when there's, men that financially, they don't got it like that, and they're putting them these high ass child support balances that they have to pay off. The same way that I see women asking for $20,000, $40,000. I need $60,000 a month in child support. I need $10,000 in child support. Can someone please, I need somebody to please inform me, how does this work? Because I know it goes based off the amount of money that the man makes. Or, for the most part, is a father, because women also, in many occasions, pay for child support. But I kind of sometimes think it's unfair. Like when these are these ridiculous amount of numbers for babies that are like 1, 2, 3, maybe even up to 10 years old. Where exactly is it that you're spending $30,000, $50,000 a month in? Anyways, that's just me. But if you feel where I'm coming from, please feel free to hit me up on Exactly Amara and let me know your opinion on this topic. Here's another important point. The mental health aspect of raising a child without financial or emotional support. Listen, that is a lot, because God knows how many nights I've cried myself to sleep only because no parent prepares himself for the most part to be a single parent. And if you do, one thing is what you think, and another one is to actually go through it and live the experience yourself. No one wants to have all the responsibility of having to take care of a child by yourself. At nighttime, you can't sleep. You have to make sure that your child is being fed, the diapers are being changed, and you're emotionally being there and nurturing for your child, because it's not their responsibility or their fault what you may be going through. So it's a lot. I'm lucky that I have my mom to support me with my girls, and I'm so grateful for her. But a lot of people don't have that. And I feel terrible for those that don't, because I can only but imagine the pressure, the responsibility, how drained emotionally and physically you have to be of having to go through the process of raising a child all by yourself. That is a lot. Something that no one ever wants to talk about either is the fact that you burn out. As a parent, you burn out. Like, there is no off time. You can't turn that off. And you'll never be able to be, like, you can't unparent yourself. You will be a parent for the rest of your life, no matter how old your child gets. You will always feel the responsibility to check out for them, protect them, make sure that they're, going through the right path and all those things. So I'm saying this only because I know in my case how easy it is for a father to show up in the picture after the mother has done all the work. And you're just like, oh, these are my kids. That's my daughter. That's my son. After the mother had to be the one to put up with all the sleepless nights, the extra part-time jobs, all those things. And here's another question I have too. Should you want to ask for child support from a person who doesn't want to be involved? Should you force a man or a woman, but for the most part, a man, should you force a man to have to financially provide for a child that they may not want? What about those parents, those fathers that from the beginning said, I don't want this child? Should they have to? I don't know. That's a really good, important question to me, because I wonder, how do the men feel in that aspect? When women say, I want to have this child because I want it, but then now the man says, I never wanted it. I told you from the beginning I didn't want to. So now they're being held responsible for this child. But at the same time, I don't know, these topics get real complicated. I've seen so many things on social media and on Instagram that talk about it all the time. So I always wonder that part. And I also want to know, I would love to talk to a woman that is the mother who's paying child support. The mother that's the one that's paying child support to the man. I would love to know if there's any women out there that's been through it or that's going through it. I want to hear your side of the story. And my father never paid any child support. I would never, ever in the history of my life put the father of my children in child support. I'm not going to be that parent, because I just feel like if it doesn't come from your heart, if you don't want to be that provider, if you choose not to do it, I will never pressure you into doing it. And then I'm also very prideful. I don't ever see myself doing that. But a lot of people are saying, oh, you're such a dumbass. You really should. Who cares? You didn't do these kids by yourself. It's their responsibility too. How do you guys feel about it? Please let me know here in the comments. Well, also going back to the burnout, how parents burn out and get exhausted and get tired. I mean, I know that you guys have heard about the work burnout, but now there's also parental burnout, okay? The intense physical and mental exhaustion and feeling drained and tired all the time as a parent, there definitely has to be a balance for that, because I know that children, it's not their fault that you're exhausted and that you're tired, but in the world that we live in, where you're consistently working, where there's so much pressure from society and these high standards of what are the right parenting, skills and ways should be, is very, very draining. And having children that don't understand the pressure of society because they're being children, it's a lot of pressure mentally emotionally, physically, all that on parents. I totally get it. I remember when I used to go home and my mom would be crying, you know, in the bathroom, and she would try to wipe off her face and act like it was all good because of the amount of pressure that she was going through. And as a child, you don't get it. You just want to have fun. And why can't you buy me this? And why can't you do that? And why are you not going out with me? Why aren't we playing in the park? Why aren't you da da da? Why? Now, as an adult, I can understand and appreciate the sacrifice and how much hard work she had to put in order to provide and be the best parent she could be. We have so many parents that feel that they're going to get judged by their families and friends if they actually say that they're depressed from being a parent because of the pressure, because of the responsibility. In many occasions, it's your first time being a parent. You don't know your way around. It's a lot. And I always say there's no guidebook on how to live your life. There's no guidebook on how to be a good parent. You just learn through experience and through life. And depression really is a real thing. We see many occasions where there's parents that even commit suicide. Feeling alone in this world of just pressure overall, of judgment. Everybody is judging you consistently of everything that you do. And on top of that, you're trying to be a good parent. And on top of that, you're being a single parent. And on top of that, you're financially taking all the responsibility and you're trying to be a happy parent so that your kid doesn't know what's going on. And it's just so much that I feel it should be okay to normalize not being okay. It should be okay to normalize saying, you know what? I need help. I need assistance. I don't know how to do this on my own. Like, this is stressing me out. I can't sleep. I'm having anxiety. All those things are important to vent, to let it out so that you don't end up putting all that stress on your children because they do receive that energy. As much as we may think that kids don't see, that kids don't know, that they can't feel what's going on. They can feel the pressure and the tension in the air. So that's something that we also have to consider. We don't want to bring our traumas, our pain, our stress, our suffering into our children's life. We don't want to raise them in that way because at the long run, it does affect them, and especially when they're growing up, they're like a sponge. They take in everything that happens in their household, not only the way that it feels, but behaviors, the things that they see, the way that you speak, all those things affect. Feeling like you're not a good parent, it's one of the most common things in this society. Every day there's new rules, there's new things, there's new studies of what you should do, what you shouldn't do. I don't know, the way that my mom raised me worked. We had la chancleta, we had the timeout. There were times where this Christmas financially, I can't buy you all the things that you want me to. Not this year. This year we're struggling. Maybe next year. I think it's okay for parents to also, be verbal about financial situations with their children, emotional situations. Mommy's not feeling good. Daddy's not feeling good. I think it's important to communicate at a very early age. It's important for kids to understand because once they step out into society, once they step out into the world, nobody's going to be there to comfort them, to be like, oh, everything is going to be okay. It's tough out here in this world. It's really, really hard out here. And if you don't figure it out on your own, ain't nobody going to do it. And also, by the way, child support is not only exclusively about money, at least to me. Child support is also about supporting your own child, meaning physically being there, being supportive emotionally, providing, that comfort and that safe space where your child knows that, they have both parents, right? Even if mommy and daddy aren't together, we both love you. We're both here. If you need anything, you have a mother and you have a father. I think that the way that society, the government, the system has really put a lot of emphasis in child support, just in the financial aspect of it. That's why we have so many good men going to jail. And we have so many situations that are happening financially because that's the only thing we talk about. But what about having the parent actually taking them to the park, spending time with them, asking them questions about their day, having memorable moments with your child as they grow up? Those things are important too. The emotional aspect of child support, it's important. And it shouldn't be forced. You shouldn't have to force a father to want to, have their kids on the weekends, if that, or during the week, or whenever their days are. You shouldn't have to force them. It shouldn't be a debate. It shouldn't be, I don't want them, I can, next month, next week. It shouldn't even be like that. And in many occasions it is. I personally, this is a tough one for me because I feel like, because I've seen the reaction and the way that the father of my children has been with me and with my girls, that I've left the doors open from day one for him to want to call, to be part of, to be present, to there was a moment where I used to send videos and I used to consistently send pictures and this just to see if it did something to his heart and would make him want to do it on his own, to ask questions about how are they doing, where are they at. In my mind, I would love for my daughters to have a good relationship with their father. Why not? I'm an adult, I'm a woman. Things don't always work out. It's happened to many people, you know? Things don't always work out, but it doesn't mean that they can't have a good relationship. I don't know if I would ever feel comfortable off the rip just allowing my children to go away, with their father, like, oh, here, just take them. No, right? Until I felt comfortable enough, maybe perhaps one day when they can speak and they can tell me this occurred or I feel this way, I'm comfortable, I'm uncomfortable, whatever it may be. I think communication is key. But I would love for my kids to have a good relationship with their father because I didn't have a good one with mine. And I think that it's unfair for children not to be able to have both of their parents because of the parents' emotional connections to each other. But if I could give you guys anything to take home with you is seek help. Sometimes we need professional help, whether it is from an attorney, whether it is from a therapist, whether it is just from a family member. Sometimes you just need to ask, how can I go about this? What can I do? Is there any way that I can have, some pressure taken off from me? Just help me out with the babies, with the kids this week, whatever. Sometimes we get caught up in our own feelings when all you needed to do was ask for help. And with that being said, I am not a healthcare professional. So, this is just me being exactly Amara and giving you some of my own personal tips and my own personal experiences. But if you are feeling like you might need some help, I'll give you a phone number where there's a professional that can actually help you. You could call or text 988 for help, 988 for help. If you know someone who might need help, tell them, yo, listen, hit up this text or call real quick, 988, and they got you. They got your back. If you're worried, about a loved one that's going through some type of crisis, definitely don't let them go. Don't let them feel that they're by themselves. Don't let them go through this process, through this journey by themselves. Be a helping hand. There's definitely people out here willing to help you no matter what the situation may be. Anxiety, depression, financial help, whatever it is, there's definitely somebody out there willing to help you. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in today to Exactly Amara. I hope that today's episode was helpful in any possible way. I definitely want to hear your point of view because at some point I would love to have a child support attorney that can actually teach me, how does this work? Why are so many people going to jail? How much money should they be providing? How does it affect emotionally? All these things I want to know. If you're going through it, if you've been through it, please hit me up in the comment section and tell me about your personal experience. Make sure to find me on YouTube and catch my show by searching for my Cultura podcast on YouTube and clicking Exactly Amara. Follow me on Instagram as well at Amara La Negra ALN, Amara La Negra ALN. And remember that this has been a production of iHeart's My Cultura podcast network. Guys, thank you so much for listening to Exactly Amara. This is your girl, Amara La Negra.